The Salt Black Mire, an account recovered from the personal journal of Alara Quinn, survivor of the Lascaux vein disaster, date unknown. The sea was not meant to burn. When the explosion tore through the hull of the Lascaux vein, it was as though Neptune himself had snapped the ship in two, his trident cracking her bones like a crab shell. I remember the sound, not like thunder, but tearing parchment, soaked in ink and blood. Then the water came, and with it, fire that floated burning oil, licking waves with tongues of flame. I swam. I swam not by chance or desperation, but by design, for the water has long been my cathedral. My strokes were honed through years of NCAA meets, nights spent cutting through chlorine silence, and mornings where my muscles howled for rest and never received it. But this was not a pool. This was a maw, and it swallowed everything but me. I awoke on the belly of a cursed place. Blackened sand stretched in unnatural spirals, and the trees, if such grotesque silhouettes could be called that, twisted skyward like fingers frozen mid-prayer. There were no birds, only the hissing of wind through hollows and the wet chitter of things I could not see. My head bled in rhythm, a pulse, not mine. My survival gear was gone. Only my wetsuit and the plastic whistle strapped to my wrist remained. My boots ripped from my feet in the wreck were replaced with bandages of sea sponge and kelp, bound tight with twine plucked from the ruins of some forgotten crate. It was there I found the first glyph, a spiral etched in bone. At first I thought it carved by knife, but no, these were grown, naturally, like coral but structured with obscene intention. I carried it with me. An unease seeped in, as if I had pocketed a name that should not be spoken. That night, it came ashore. I did not see it first. I heard it like barnacles rasping across a mirror and the wet knock of something dragging itself between dimensions. It moved not like predator but priest, a tall, jointless body pitch colored and pulsing with phosphorescent veins. No face, no eyes, only slits that opened and closed like gills, and a hide that shifted, not camouflaged, but rewritten. It sniffed the air. It knew I had survived. I hid beneath an overhang of sulfur-stained rock, clutching a mirror shard like a dagger. I did not breathe. I inhaled silence, and it passed. But its shadow lingered far longer than it should have. Over the days, if they were days, I fashioned tools. A solar still from a cracked face shield, a harpoon from snapped carbon rod and drifted wire. I trapped small creatures, things that resembled crabs but bled blue and shrieked like children. I learned their ways, their calls, and I learned its patterns. By night, it came, always in the same rhythm, always toward the shore, as though obeying a tide that did not exist. It could not abide flame, yet only when shaped. Circles meant nothing to it, but spirals, oh, the spirals it feared. I burned them into the sand using glass and sun. I set traps using shells that exploded with salt and vinegar. I sang nonsense in Morse code through my whistle, which it hated. I bled from my ears each time it screamed in reply. Still, it learned. It mimicked. It began to mimic me. It wore my voice one night. It said my name. Near the island's center lay a pit. No bottom, only whispering wind and bones. Thousands of bones, arranged in circles and spirals and stars. Symbols older than syntax. I wept when I saw it, not for fear, but recognition. We had seen this pattern before, in sonar from the wreck, in symbols drawn by ancient cultures oceans apart, in the spiral DNA of life itself. The creature was not a thing. It was a cipher. A correction, a balancing equation to human arrogance, carved into the salt black biology of the sea. I understood then. It had not come to kill me. It had come to replace me. I left at dusk. My raft a hideous craft of plastic drums, tarp, and bone floated barely above the foam. I left a trail of false spirals and burning glyphs behind me. A whisper on the wind followed. You are ready. It let me go. Or perhaps it followed still. I drifted for 5 days before rescue. They found me mumbling algorithms and Polynesian glyphs and bleeding from the nose. They gave me water, but I asked only for salt. I've returned now to the coast. I live near a cove. I watch the tide, and sometimes I see a woman standing far out in the surf. She swims like me, but it isn't me. And so, dear reader, if you are ashore and in remembrance of my words, do not drift out farther than you can swim. For the waves and distant whales hold memories and want of more, even more than one can give.